Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, didn't just live at Graceland with his family. He basically ran a personal zoo. We're talking monkeys in custom suits causing absolute chaos, a beloved dog meeting a heartbreakingly bizarre end involving lawn furniture, and Elvis literally riding his golden horse through the front door of his mansion. Oh, and one tiny dog given as a gift actually outlived the king himself, staying right there at Graceland. Seriously, the animal antics at this iconic Memphis home were almost as legendary as the music. Forget the swiveling hips for a second. Graceland was a furry, feathered, and sometimes frantic kingdom all its own. Number 5. Scatter the Chimp was basically Elvis's wild mini-me. Get ready for this one. Because when Elvis Presley decided he wanted a pet, he didn't just get a goldfish. Nope. Sometime in the late 1950s or early 1960s, Elvis acquired a chimpanzee named Scatter. And Scatter wasn't just any chimp. He was destined for Graceland greatness, or maybe Graceland chaos. Depends on who you ask. Imagine this. Graceland, the already buzzing hub of Elvis's world, suddenly has a primate resident. And Scatter wasn't kept in a cage, hidden away. Oh no. Scatter was part of the scene. He became one of the guys. In a way, only a chimp living with rock royalty could. Elvis reportedly got Scatter from a children's entertainer in Memphis, Captain Bill Kilbrew. The idea might have started as a novelty, a fun addition to the lively atmosphere Elvis cultivated. But Scatter quickly developed a personality larger than life, much like his famous owner. What did Scatter do at Graceland? Well, what didn't he do? Accounts paint a picture of a chimp with a serious mischievous streak. He learned or was perhaps encouraged to mimic human behaviors, often with hilarious or horrifying results, depending on the situation. One of the most iconic images associated with Scatter is him wearing clothes. We're not talking a little chimp-sized t-shirt. We're talking outfits. Little suits, hats, sometimes mimicking Elvis's own flashy style. Can you even picture a chimpanzee strutting around Graceland, possibly in a tiny rhinestone-studded something? It sounds like a movie scene, but it was reportedly part of the daily reality. But the clothes were just the beginning. Scatter was known for his pranks, and these weren't just innocent little jokes. Stories abound about Scatter developing a particular fondness for pulling up women's skirts. Imagine being a guest at Graceland, maybe a bit starstruck, and suddenly having your dress yanked up by a chimpanzee. It was apparently a regular occurrence, much to the amusement of Elvis and his entourage, known as the Memphis Mafia, though likely less amusing for the targets of the pranks. There are also tales of Scatter developing a taste for alcohol. Now, whether he was actively given drinks or just managed to sneak sips here and there is part of the legend. But multiple accounts mention Scatter partaking in beverages that were definitely not banana smoothies. Think about that. A chimpanzee, possibly slightly tipsy, running around one of the most famous homes in the world. The potential for pandemonium was astronomical. He reportedly had free reign of the house at times, which, as you can imagine, led to some incidents. Furniture might get climbed. Objects might get thrown, and general mayhem could erupt at any moment. Scatter was known to ride around with Elvis and the guys in cars, becoming a furry member of the cruising crew. He was even, according to some stories, taught to answer the phone, though what he said remains a mystery, probably just some enthusiastic chimp noises. However, Scatter's wild antics eventually started to wear thin even for Elvis, who was known for his love of fun and chaos. The pranks escalated. There are persistent stories, though sometimes disputed in their severity, about Scatter biting people. Some accounts mention him nipping at maids or guests. When your pet starts actually causing harm, even if unintentionally, it becomes a problem even for the king of rock and roll. The tolerance for Scatter's behavior began to dwindle. His presence became less of a fun novelty and more of a liability. Chimpanzees are incredibly strong, and as Scatter grew older, his potential to cause real damage increased. The line between cheeky pet and dangerous animal started to blur. Eventually, the decision was made that Scatter couldn't stay at Graceland. The exact timeline and circumstances of his departure are a bit fuzzy, varying depending on the source. Some say he was moved to a separate enclosure on the Graceland grounds for a while. Others say he was sent away to an animal sanctuary or facility better equipped to handle a chimpanzee. It was an acknowledgement that while the idea of a pet chimp seemed fun, the reality was far more complex and potentially hazardous. Scatter's story is a whirlwind. A chimpanzee plucked from relative obscurity to live in the lap of luxury and chaos at Graceland, dressed in tiny outfits, pulling pranks and becoming a legendary part of the Elvis lore. He represents the wild, unrestrained energy that often surrounded Elvis, a living, breathing symbol of a time when it seemed like anything was possible, even having a chimp as one of your closest companions. His time at Graceland was relatively short compared to some other pets, but his impact on the stories and legends surrounding the king was massive. Scatter wasn't just a pet. He was a furry, unpredictable phenomenon. Number 4. Rising Sun was the golden horse, Elvis, rode INSIDE Graceland. Okay, let's switch gears from primate pandemonium to majestic equestrian elegance. Elvis wasn't just a dog person or a monkey person. He was a HUG horse lover. And Graceland wasn't just a mansion. It had stables and pastures fit for, well, the king's horses. Among the many horses Elvis owned and loved throughout his life, one stands out with a particularly golden gleam: Rising Sun. Rising Sun wasn't just any horse. He was a stunning palomino. Think beautiful golden coat, flowing white mane and tail, the kind of horse you see in movies ridden by heroes. And Elvis absolutely adored him. Rising Sun was acquired in the 1960s, and he quickly became one of Elvis's favorites, if not the favorite, equine companion. Why, the special connection? Well, part of it was, undoubtedly, the horse's sheer beauty. Elvis had an eye for aesthetics, for things that looked good, and Rising Sun was undeniably a magnificent animal. Riding such a striking horse must have felt fitting for the king of rock and roll. Imagine Elvis maybe in one of his own stylish outfits, atop this golden steed riding across the grounds of Graceland. It's an image straight out of a fairy tale, albeit a rock and roll fairy tale. Elvis was actually a skilled horseman. He enjoyed riding, and it provided him with a sense of escape and normalcy away from the pressures of fame. The stables and pastures at Graceland offered him a sanctuary where he could connect with these powerful, graceful animals. He spent considerable time at the stables, caring for the horses, riding them, and just enjoying their presence. Rising Sun became a fixture at Graceland. Elvis loved to show him off. He wasn't just kept in the stables, he was part of the Graceland experience. And this leads to one of the most famous, and frankly, slightly bonkers, stories about Rising Sun. Elvis apparently loved this horse so much that he didn't always keep him confined to the outdoors. Yes, you read that right. There are numerous accounts, including from Priscilla, Presley herself, that Elvis occasionally rode Rising Sun inside Graceland. Not just poking his head through the door, actually riding him through the main entrance and into the foyer area. Can you even comprehend the logistics? Or the potential for mess? A full-sized Palomino horse clip clopping on the floors of a meticulously decorated mansion. It sounds utterly unbelievable, but it's a story that has persisted and is often repeated as fact by those who were there. Imagine the scene. Guests are milling about, maybe listening to music, and suddenly the front doors swing open and in rides Elvis Presley on a magnificent golden horse. It's the kind of grand, impulsive gesture that seemed to define Elvis's life at Graceland. Rules didn't necessarily apply. If the king wanted to ride his favorite horse into the house, who was going to stop him? It speaks volumes about his affection for Rising Sun and his desire to have his beloved animals close, literally incorporating them into his home life. Rising Sun wasn't just for show, though. Elvis genuinely enjoyed riding him. He'd take him out on the Graceland property, enjoying the Tennessee landscape. Sometimes Priscilla would ride with him on her own horse. These moments offered a glimpse of a quieter, more private Elvis finding peace and connection with nature and his animals. The stables at Graceland were well maintained, and the horses received excellent care. Elvis ensured his animal companions were treated like royalty themselves. Rising Sun lived out his life at Graceland, a beloved and beautiful presence on the estate. He remained there even after Elvis's death in 1977, cared for along with the other horses. Seeing Rising Sun today, or rather, seeing his legacy preserved at Graceland, the horses currently at Graceland are descendants or symbolic representations, not the original animals from Elvis's time, is a reminder of this softer, more pastoral side of Elvis. Beyond the stage lights and the screaming fans, there was a man who found joy in the simple pleasure of riding a beautiful horse across his own land. Rising Sun, the Golden Palomino, represents more than just a pet. He symbolizes Elvis's love for beauty, his connection to the land, his moments of peace, away from the whirlwind of fame, and yes, his occasional eccentric impulse to bring the outdoors and a very large animal indoors. He was a truly majestic companion for the king. Number 3. Get Low, the Chow Chow met a tragically bizarre end. Elvis loved dogs. Like really loved dogs. Throughout his life, he owned dozens of them, various breeds, big and small. Graceland often had multiple canine residents running around, adding to the lively, sometimes chaotic, atmosphere. Among this veritable pack of pups, one dog stands out, not just for Elvis's affection towards him, but also for the incredibly sad and strange circumstances of his death. A chow chow named Get Low. Get Low arrived at Graceland in the mid-1970s. Elvis had a particular fondness for chow chows, known for their fluffy coats, distinctive blue-black tongues, and somewhat aloof but loyal nature. Get Low wasn't his first chow. He had owned others before, including one named Ming Toy. But Get Low became a special favorite during the later years of Elvis's life. The name Get Low itself is interesting. It reportedly came about because Elvis initially thought the puppy, like many chows, might have a tendency towards being low energy or maybe needed encouragement to get low during play. Whatever the origin, the name stuck. Get Low was often seen with Elvis around Graceland. Photos from the era sometimes show Elvis with the fluffy chow nearby. Like many of Elvis's pets, Get Low enjoyed the run of the place, treated like a furry member of the family. Chow chows can be protective and loyal to their owners, and Get Low was likely a constant comforting presence for Elvis during a period marked by health issues and the pressures of his career. Elvis was known for showering his pets with affection and perhaps spoiling them quite a bit. Get Low would have received the best food care and plenty of attention from Elvis and the Graceland staff. He was part of the fabric of daily life at the mansion, a familiar sight padding down the hallways or lounging in one of the opulent rooms. But Get Low's story takes a heartbreaking turn. His life ended prematurely, and in a way that sounds almost unbelievable. The details revolve around a common piece of backyard equipment, a lawn swing. Sometime in 1975, Get Lowson sadly passed away. The most widely accepted account of his death is that he became entangled in the ropes or mechanism of a porch or lawn swing at Graceland. It was a freak accident, the kind that seems too strange to be true. But it's the story that has been consistently told. The details are grim. The dog somehow got caught, possibly panicked, and tragically choked or was fatally injured. Imagine the discovery: a beloved pet gone in such a sudden and unexpected way. For Elvis, who was deeply attached to his animals, the loss of Get Low was devastating. He had lost pets before. Illness, old age, accidents happen, but the bizarre nature of Get Low's death must have been particularly shocking and upsetting. Sources say Elvis was heartbroken over the incident. Losing a companion animal is always painful, and the violent, accidental nature of Get Low's passing likely added another layer of grief. It was a sad reminder that even within the seemingly protected bubble of Graceland, tragedy could strike unexpectedly. The story of Get Low serves as a poignant counterpoint to the often glamorous or wild tales of life at Graceland. It highlights the genuine affection Elvis had for his animals and the real pain he felt when he lost them. It also sees the unpredictability of life and death, even for the pets of the king of rock and roll. Get Low, the fluffy chow chow who captured Elvis's heart, remains a memorable figure in the Graceland story, not just for the joy he brought during his life, but for the uniquely sorrowful way his time there ended. His tale is a reminder of the deep bonds between humans and their pets, and the enduring hurt when those bonds are broken, especially under such unfortunate circumstances. Number 2. Muffin the Great Pyrenees was a gentle giant. While Elvis had a penchant for the exotic, Scatter the chimp, and the fluffy, Get Low the chow, he also had room in his heart, and on the sprawling Graceland grounds for some seriously large, yet notably gentle canine companions. Enter Muffin, the Great Pyrenees. Now, if you're not familiar with the breed, Great Pyrenees are big dogs. Originally bred to guard livestock in the snowy Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain, they are known for their thick white coats, calm demeanor, and protective instincts. They are powerful animals, but typically possess a gentle, patient nature, especially with their families. Muffin embodied this gentle, giant spirit at Graceland. Muffin was one of several dogs living at Graceland during Elvis's time there. While perhaps not as famously mischievous as Scatter or as tragically remembered as Get Low, Muffin represented another facet of Elvis's love for animals, an appreciation for steadfast, loyal companionship. Imagine this large, white, fluffy dog lounging on the lawns of Graceland or walking calmly alongside Elvis or members of his family. Great Pyrenees have a majestic presence, and Muffin would have certainly added to the visual landscape of the estate. In contrast to the high energy of some other pets, Muffin likely brought a sense of calm and stability. Elvis reportedly acquired Muffin along with potentially other Great Pyrenees over time. Dog names and specific timelines can sometimes get muddled in the various accounts of Graceland life, because he appreciated their temperament and perhaps their imposing size offered a sense of security, complementing the actual human security team. These dogs are natural guardians, watchful and protective of their territory and their people, but usually without overt aggression unless provoked. Life for Muffin at Graceland would have been pretty sweet. Plenty of space to roam, attention from Elvis and the staff, and the company of other animals. While specific anecdotes about Muffin's individual antics aren't as widely circulated as those about Scatter, her presence was part of the rich tapestry of animal life at the mansion. She would have been a familiar figure to visitors and staff, a big, friendly face, or rather, a big, fluffy everything, enjoying the unique environment. Think about the contrast. Elvis, the dynamic performer known for his electrifying stage presence, also finding comfort and companionship with a dog known for its zen-like calmness. It shows the breadth of his connection with animals. He didn't just go for the flashy or the exotic. He also valued the quiet loyalty of a dog like Muffin. Muffin's breed characteristics: loyalty, patience, protectiveness were likely qualities Elvis admired. In a life filled with constant demands and the pressures of fame, having a dependable, calm presence like Muffin around could have been incredibly grounding. While the Memphis Mafia provided human camaraderie and security, the dogs offered a different kind of unconditional love and acceptance. The Great Pyrenees breed is also known for being good with families and children, possessing a nurturing instinct. While Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, was young during the time Muffin might have been around, a gentle giant like a Great Pyrenees could have been a wonderful, watchful companion around the house. Muffin's story might lack the high drama of Scatter or the tragic ending of Get Low, but her presence at Graceland is significant. She represents the everyday comforting aspect of pet ownership that Elvis clearly cherished. She was likely one of the many constants in his often turbulent world, a big, beautiful dog offering quiet devotion. Her tenure at Graceland highlights the sheer variety of animals Elvis surrounded himself with, creating a personal sanctuary filled with creatures great and small, flamboyant and serene. Muffin, the gentle giant, was an integral part of that furry kingdom. Number 1. Edmund the Pomeranian was a gift for Gladys and outlived Elvis. Topping our list is a pet whose story is perhaps the most touching, connecting Elvis not only to his own love for animals but also deeply to his beloved mother, Gladys. This furry friend is Edmund, a tiny Pomeranian with a remarkably long tenure at Graceland. Edmund wasn't initially Elvis's dog. He was a gift. Elvis bought the little Pomeranian for his mother, Gladys Presley, likely sometime in the mid to late 1950s. Gladys adored dogs, and Elvis, ever the devoted son, loved to shower her with presents. A tiny, fluffy Pomeranian must have seemed like the perfect companion for her. Pomeranians are known for being lively, intelligent, and affectionate lapdogs, and Edmund likely brought Gladys a great deal of joy. Imagine Gladys Presley, the woman who raised the future king of rock and roll, doting on this little ball of fluff at Graceland. Edmund would have been pampered and loved, a cherished member of the Presley household during those earlier years at the mansion. He represented a token of love from her famous son. A small creature comforts her amidst the whirlwind that their lives had become. Tragically, Gladys passed away relatively young in 1958. This was a devastating blow to Elvis, who was exceptionally close to his mother. Her death cast a long shadow over his life. But what happened to her little dog Edmund? Edmund remained at Graceland. After Gladys's passing, the little Pomeranian continued to live at the mansion, cared for by Elvis and the household staff. He became a living link to Gladys, a furry reminder of the mother Elvis missed so dearly. While Elvis acquired many other pets over the years, Edmund held a special place, rooted in that connection to his mom. Think about the timeline. Edmund arrived in the 50s. Elvis himself passed away in 1977. Edmund, the little Pomeranian, was still living at Graceland when Elvis died. He had been there through the height of Elvis's fame, through the changes in the household, through the parties and the quiet moments, a constant, albeit tiny, presence for nearly 2 decades. But Edmund's story doesn't even end there. After Elvis's death, Graceland didn't just shut down. Elvis's father, Vernon, lived there until his death in 1979. And importantly, Elvis's Aunt Delta, Vernon's sister, Gladys's sister-in-law, moved into Graceland in the 1960s and continued to live there long after Elvis passed away, well into the 1990s, even after Graceland opened to the public as a museum. And who was one of Aunt Delta's companions in the mansion after Elvis was gone? Edmund the Pomeranian. Yes, this little dog, originally a gift for Gladys in the 1950s, lived on at Graceland, cared for by Aunt Delta. He spent his final years in the familiar surroundings of the mansion, a furry veteran of the Presley family's life there. He likely passed away sometime in the early 1980s, having lived an incredibly long life for a dog, especially a small breed like a Pomeranian. Edmund's story is remarkable. He witnessed so much history within the walls of Graceland. He was a connection between 3 generations: Gladys, Elvis, and the family members who remained after Elvis's death. He saw the beginning of Elvis's life at Graceland and stayed long after the king was gone. His longevity and his connection to Gladys make him arguably one of the most significant pets in the Graceland story. He wasn't flashy like Scatter or majestic like Rising Sun, but his quiet presence spanned decades. He was a symbol of enduring love, Elvis's love for his mother, and the family's continuing care for a pet that represented her memory. Edmund, the Pomeranian, is a small dog with a huge legacy in the heart of Graceland.